Now, I'd like to bring in now Adeyanju, a human rights lawyer. He joins me from the Federal Capital Territory. Also joining is Ibim Semenitari, a human and social rights activist. Good to have both of you tonight. I really do appreciate you. This question is for both of you, but I'll start with Deji. Deji Adeyanju. The president has sworn in retired Vice Admiral Ibas as sole administrator for Rivers State, even as the National Assembly puts the president's state of emergency declaration to a vote on Thursday. Does that mean this is a done deal?
Well, the president does not care, in my view, about constitutionality. He does not care about rule of law. He has gone, in contravention of our constitution to declare a state of emergency with no visible emergency in Rivers State. There is no breakdown of law and order. There is no war in Rivers State. There is no any form of political or visible violence or crisis in the state. As we can see, Rivers has been very peaceful before the declaration of the state of emergency and even after. So especially the peace now that is evident even after the declaration, just like it was before the declaration, has further confirmed that the president made a wrong call. And it is not too late to say I made a wrong call and just do a reversal. For one, I'm one of those who do not want the president to fail. We may criticize the president often and frequently, but that does not mean we want the president to fail, because if the president fails, then the country has failed by and large. So I'm particularly disturbed that the president is surrounded by sycophants and never-do-wells, people who are determined to ruin the nation, because that's all the only feelers I get. The irreducible minimum in a democracy is that there must be an attempt at ensuring that rule of law is complied with. There must be an attempt, especially when you are running a constitutional democracy, there must be an attempt at ensuring that constitutionalism is the only thing that the government places premium on. Look at the express provision of Section 305 of the Constitution as regards to declaration of state of emergency. None of those thresholds, the condition precedent set out in that section, was met for the declaration of the state of emergency. The president couldn't even get National Assembly assent. He has gone ahead. So what is the essence of the National Assembly even debating it or voting on it? The president does not care. It's just like when he wanted to buy himself a presidential jet, he did not need their support. He did not need their approval. He just went ahead to like as if he was going to the supermarket and he bought it. So anything that the National Assembly does tomorrow, it will just be like psychophancy trying to please the president. Oh, we support you. This is campaign after election, in my view.
Deji, just hold that thought. Let me bring in Ibim. Do you think that the president is just waiving the shock factor? Perhaps Thursday he might change his mind. All right, Ibim, we can't hear you. And if you can hear me, can you unmute yourself? Because we think that's what's going on.
Forgive me, I didn't realize I was muted. Forgive me.
Okay,
I said that, quite frankly, I don't even know if indeed the president was, well, it would be nice. It would be nice. Let me be optimistic and say it would be nice to see a reversal, because the conditions that should lead to a state of emergency, like Adeyanju said, were not fulfilled at all. They were not. There was neither a war, nor was there a natural disaster, nor was the place ungovernable, nor was there a crisis on ground. There were none of such things. I mean, it's curious that next door to Rivers State in Imo State, all right, you're having crisis, and yet there's no state of emergency there. It is curious that in many other places, soldiers are killed, and there's no state of emergency. In Rivers State, not one single person is injured. I'm not talking of killed, injured. And then you declare state of emergency. So,
Ibim, let me play the devil's advocate a little bit here.
Let me be optimistic.
All right, let me play the devil's advocate. So those who are on the president's side are saying that the president is trying to avoid a situation where Rivers State devolves into serious crisis. This is a state that is feeding the rest of the nation. That the president does not want to wait until the entire pipelines are blown up, because just 24 hours or less, a couple of, about 48 hours ago, we had twin pipeline explosions. Some people are saying that it is in response to the political crisis that has dragged on in River State for months. And also the president said he called this, the warring factions came together, they tried to talk it out, and then he said, you know what, I'm done. I'm not going to let anyone put the entire country into crisis. How do you respond to that?
But I think that is really, wouldn't you say that is unfair? You had one pipeline explosion. You haven't even confirmed why. You haven't confirmed if it was human error. You haven't confirmed, you haven't confirmed why. And again, I'm saying that yes, no one wants violence, and there was one pipeline explosion, but soldiers are killed somewhere else, and that's not critical enough for the country to worry. Entire communities are sacked, and that's not critical enough for the community to worry. And you know, I think that when we make these arguments, it would be nice to be fair to Rivers people. It really would be. Again, nobody wants a pipeline explosion, but I thought that you would first investigate and get to the root of it. After all, the security, the entire security architecture is in the federal government, whether it is the police or the Navy or the Army. So you really, it's not a matter that is beyond the federal government. And the president is commander-in-chief.
Right. Deji, let me bring you in here. A human rights lawyer you are, and I know that you know a lot about the Constitution. Is there any other way to interpret that section, the 305 subsection 5, that gives the president the powers to declare a state of emergency of this nature?
Yes, while it is considered that the president has the powers to declare state of emergency, however, the president does not have any power, constitutional or otherwise, to suspend the governor.
But this isn't the first time. He is not the first president that would be declaring a state of emergency as well as suspending.
That means he wants to be the second president, like Obasanjo, to be doing unconstitutional things, to be breaking the law. The law is clear. Section 188 of the Constitution has stipulated procedures for removing a governor, whether it is via suspension or permanent removal. The president cannot just wake up via a press conference and remove a governor, a governor elected to represent the people, and disband the House of Assembly. It's only when you hear that military song of a coup that things like this happen. It does not make any sense. The president is an elected official, just like the executive governor and the House of Assembly members. It would be wrong and foolhardy for anyone to do a press conference and suspend the president of Nigeria or suspend the governor of a state. You know, it makes no sense. While we concede that the president indeed has powers to declare state of emergency, in fact, under Section 305, the subsequent section that gives the president powers to declare state of emergency in either parts of Nigeria or the whole, has also given the governor powers to declare state of emergency in local governments where there has been breakdown of law and order, war, conflict. So the president is not the only one that the Constitution has donated such powers to. The Constitution has also donated similar powers to the governor. But the governor or the president exercising this power, discretionary in nature, must not abuse the Constitution. The president has acted ultra-vires the Constitution. He has acted beyond his power, his mandate. The president, the powers conferred on the president in Section 305 of the 1999 Constitution amended is not at large. The president cannot just do anything in the name of declaration of state of emergency. What the president has done is synonymous to a civilian coup. There's no difference between when you hear the military song of General Sani Abacha overthrowing the government and what the president has done. The president has overthrown the democratically elected government of Rivers State.
Right. Deji, let me quickly bring in Ibim here. I want to read to you what the president said. You know, he outlined a series of reasons why he's taking this measure. And he did say two notable things that jumped at me was, one, when certain groups were agitating last couple of weeks that they would blow up pipelines, that they're going to cause trouble if the governor was removed, that the Governor Fubara didn't say anything, didn't caution them, didn't breathe out the riot act to discourage these people. Secondly, that when the pipelines then were blown off, that he didn't address the issue. Clearly, perhaps a logical person would draw some kind of parallels between the governor's silence and the violence that we have seen in the last 48 to 72 hours. Ibim, how do you respond to that? Was Governor Fubara being irresponsible with a silence
First of all, is that
on
the
those
pipelines
issues?
are federal government property. And the federal government has all of the security architecture. They are in charge of the Navy, the police, the army, the civil defense and everything. So indeed, if we should begin to wonder what happened to security, then, there's the place to ask. And that's really important to point that out. The second is that it is patently unfair to suggest that the governor did not condemn or indeed supported anyone. This governor has never supported non-state actors to take the law into their hands. He has never allowed for violence. He has consistently asked that everyone who supports him toes the path of peace. And every time you've heard him speak, that has been a consistent refrain. Indeed, he spoke at different commissionings in Rivers State. And at each of those commissionings, he did say that he was willing to pay a price for peace. That doesn't sound to me like a man who would support non-state actors taking the law into their hands. And indeed, that hasn't happened in Rivers State. Sometimes it's really a question of you call a dog a bad name to hang it. Now, on the other side, on the flip side, was a media chat with someone pulling the beating drums of war and saying that, you see, these Ijaw people, they're not the only ones that have a monopoly of violence. So people can blow up pipes, and so people can blow up pipes. That was not considered aggression. That was not considered a statement that could have caused a problem. I think that it's important that we come to justice with equal weights. It's really important.
Right. So, Deji and Ibim, I want to believe you guys can still hear me well. Where do we go from here, really? Where do we go from here?
Basically, where we go from here is very simple. That the president, his address to the nation was biased. He didn't. He referred to the parties. He said parties who were who were disagreeing. But he did not mention Wike's name. He never mentioned Wike. He kept mentioning Fubara's name, and he was referring to parties. The president was biased all throughout his presentation and that declaration, because if you want to broker peace, you must be someone who is neutral, who is not taking side. The president was sounding more or less like a media aide to Wike. Very regrettably and unfortunately, look at the remarks of Wike in that address where he had threatened that they have the capacity to blow up pipelines, where they had threatened the Ijaw nation and called the Ijaw nation derogative names, despite all their sacrifices for the Niger Delta, even for the 13% derivation that the region is enjoying, and said all kinds of unprintable names and called them minority of the minority and all that. The president didn't find anything noteworthy in those hate speeches of Wike and the threats to blow up the pipeline. The president kept referring to Sim Fubara. He singled Sim Fubara out. It simply meant that it was premeditated ab initio. Look at the issue about now, immediate news now of saying they want to release the state resources to the administrator that has just been appointed.
Right.
It simply means, despite the express prohibition by the Supreme Court, that until elections. Okay, now as elections been conducted, are there a new chairman now? Why do you want to release the resource? So it simply means that it was not about finding a political solution to Rivers State. It was about sharing the money they wanted. And because my suspicion is that Wike must have been the person that nominated this administrator.
Right, Deji, let me quickly hear, Ibim, your final take before I wrap this up.
Yeah, my final take on this is really simple. Part of what hurt me so deeply was to hear the president say that Governor Siminalayi Fubara refused to take any actions, especially with regards to, brokering peace. Now, you would recall that the president invited all parties to Abuja. They came back from Abuja, and Siminalayi Fubara, a defendant in a matter, instructed his lawyers to go ahead and withdraw the matter from court. The other parties, and one of the conditions Mr. President gave was that all parties should withdraw the matters in court. Siminalayi Fubara withdrew the matters in court. The others continued diligently pursuing the matter, which is why we're where we were. That's number one. Number two, the president said, recall all commissioners, even though they resigned of their own volition. Governor Siminalayi Fubara went ahead and recalled all commissioners. Again, that was not taken into cognizance. Meanwhile, while all of this was going on, the other party continued to beat drums of war. All right, fast forward to Supreme Court, and let's not even talk about the reliefs that the court granted. And the court gave a judgment. Now, all of the while the cases were still going on, litigation was still going on. So you cannot accuse the governor of not obeying the rule of law, because as long as litigation is going on, you have not heard the final word on the matter.
Right, Ibim.
So the governor waited. Once there was a final word on the matter, Governor Siminalayi moved to implement. One, local government chairman, you stand dissolved, let HLGAs take over. Number two, I have to present this budget. First, he wants a meeting. The lawmakers say, we're not meeting with you. He says, okay. The SSG writes, please, when can we come and present the budget? Oh, how dare the SSG write? The governor writes himself to say, please, I would like to come and present the budget. Letter, they refused to receive the letter. They said the governor's tone was not nice. The governor writes a second letter, literally begging to come and present the budget. He
to wrap it up
to
here.
deliver this letter. We saw videos of government trying to deliver the letters. They did not accept. DHL sent the letters according to Commissioner of Information. They did not receive it. And yet, this is the man who is being accused of not complying with the rule.
Again, let me play the devil's advocate here so I can wrap up this conversation.
Yes.
What the Amawuli-led House of Assembly lawmakers are saying is all of that is medicine after death. But what is also notable in all of this is the fact that most of the people we've spoken to, and also across political divide, are not in outright support of suspending the legislative and the executive arms of government. Some are half and half into the state of emergency. We have heard from political parties from both sides saying, oh, this is weird. So we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Fingers are crossed across the board, and we're going to have to leave this conversation here and continue it tomorrow. All right.
We have a rubber stamp legislature, and they are going to rubber stamp him. And I can assure you that look at what has happened all over the country.
Right.
Look at how many people were killed in Borno. 378 people killed in Borno.
Right.
135 killed in Benue. In Kaduna, 91 people. In Plateau, 75 people. In Anambra, 95
All right, Deji, I'm going to have to leave it there. Both of you, thank you. Deji Adeyanju, human rights lawyer. Thank you so much for joining us from the Federal Capital Territory, and also Ibim Semenitari, former Commissioner of Information under former Governor Rotimi Amechi. Both of you are brilliant. Thank you so much for sticking to us tonight.